Everybody, welcome to the Hindsight Podcast. It's a really good day because the final of the Nations Cup is in a couple of days, and that is great because it's been a month and we've done our fair share of trying to give as much as we can give to African football as far as covering from some perspective at least. The crew is here in Ebon Monday, Olakunle, and we have brought back Ni Adeni to join the podcast for today. Ni, that's a real name, right? Ni Adeni.
Falan Adeni.
Falan Adeni, right? I don't know where I got that from, but you can actually use that going forward, right? Definitely. You said you sent Alex Kubo a DM.
No, I didn't. But this week was just unbelievable. And Alex Kubo, as I saw it, and shout out to him, fantastic actor, and he's worked with my wife a few times, and he's a brilliant actor, brilliant actor. It's a guy I really admire. He's posted this stuff on his Instagram page. He said, if you're a bad person and you can lead me astray, DM me. I found it very, very cracking. Yeah. Something that should be on Twitter, not Instagram. And it was quite funny because the day after he posted the aftermath, the DMs he got, and there are some really, really crazy ones.
Was it not Alex Kubo that was on during the lockdown? That was on what's his name? Tory Lanez's page. Putting the Nigerian.
No. It was Ike. Big shout out to Ike, man. That was wild.
No, man. See those two guys. I confuse them a lot.
I think they're part of they're part of what they call Chop Life Gang. No, that's what they call themselves. Ike Bon, Alex Kubo. Right. I think Casual. So great guys doing wonderful stuff out there.
So if you just joined us, what we just did is to grab the ladies into the podcast. It's pretty much, I met a couple of ladies that said, look, you guys should throw in. You guys do great content, and it would be nice to see if you guys can just throw in a little bit of entertainment. And I felt like probably maybe we'll bring in Swimpy and Co to do an episode for us on that kind of stuff. But notwithstanding, great to have you here. And we actually did see the jump on the YouTube subscribers from the last episode, so that was great because we weren't expecting a lot of people to follow. But speaking of which, I think a couple of things we need to address just before we get into the podcast for today. And shout out to Jide, who was here last week as well for a great episode. I think Kingsley was here as well. And he wasn't here. Olakunle wasn't here.
Wasn't.
Right. So I've managed to see the reactions we had on Twitter on the Madiko Okoye, excerpts, posted on Instagram page. And I've got to say that whilst it is important to, that people engage content, it is also very crucial that people go to the source of the content and watch the content active and context. And I find that a lot of people are short-sighted, not in literal sense, but people really want feed off clickbait, and I can understand why papers like Daily Mail sell a lot, and it's a great strategy, because if we wanted to create content that would go viral, we could do that every week. Right, we have content that could go viral every week, but what we rather do is create context to every conversation we make. So Madakoko's video has gone out, and a certain page, Niger Sports, right, have gone ahead to post the content maybe a week or 2 weeks after it was done, and that case has probably pretty much been done and dusted. They've gone on to post content, and that's not a problem for me because if we're in the business of creating content, then you can disseminate. But one thing we don't do on this podcast is cloud chase, and I talked to the guys about it already from the start of the podcast. Back sometime, maybe last year, a year and a half ago. What we don't do is cloud chase. Everything we say on the podcast is clearly backed by some sort of perspective, and we try to create that perspective, which is why there's a YouTube page for a longer form of the videos. But if you're watching, whoever owns Niger Sports, when you think you own a blog and you don't do your job properly, you make the whole blogging industry look bad for your silly. I don't want to use the word. I don't want to use the word stupid, because in the end, I'm describing they took. I think that is absolutely disrespectful to go ahead and eliminate the watermarks on the videos. And I've gone through the page, maybe the next two rows, and I've looked at the other content they put. Because what they basically do is they pretty much pick content from everywhere and post it. But shout out to Fans Tribe HQ, because they follow us, we follow them as well, and we exchanged a couple of messages. Well, is that not right? Right. Okay. So they posted a couple of weeks ago, they posted a video by Fans HQ, and they've tagged Fans HQ in the video, and they've clearly left their watermark there as well. What they've done with their latest post, which is from the Hindsight Podcast page, is go ahead and post a video, taking out all the watermarks, and basically sold the content in a way that should not be. When clearly, if you had posted the video and it said at the end, watch the full clip on YouTube, you would go to our YouTube page. The producers or the podcast take their time to make sure that on every single video there is a description for every single timestamp. This is what was said at this point in time. So if you're worried about where you'll find that particular slot or that particular video, it's not a problem. But I find that, you know, people are very responsible, and that's what they've done.
Yeah.
In many ways, I think that people should be called out for being irresponsible, which is what Nigeria Sports have done.
Definitely.
And
So
that's it for me.
So my thing is, it's if you, when you're in this business, right, you're not really concerned about whether you want to be seen as a good person or not. Nobody really knows, you know, what is in your head, or what is always in your head, or how much work you have done to get to where you are. So when you go ahead and you take somebody's content, so if you post the content as it is, maybe I might not have as much issue with it. But when you take the content, you take the stress of taking out everything that can, you know, link back to the owners of the content,
yeah.
And then you post it.
That's criminality.
That's criminality, and it's that's exactly what it is.
It is
So what
criminality.
you're doing, so I don't understand how you can live with yourself. So because you said, because you have what, 100K, 105,000 followers, you think you have the authority to take somebody's intellectual property and post it and not give no credit whatsoever. And the funniest thing was that I went through the page. This particular clip that we're talking about was posted about 6-7 hours ago. It had more views, more comments than posts that you put up 2 days, 5 days, 6 days ago. So what that is you have taken somebody's content and you have used it to further your own, you know, business without giving no credit whatsoever to the owners of the content. And it's just ridiculous.
I'm not even worried, because I think when you run the arguably the best podcast in the country, you know, at least in this category, you expect that people would naturally gravitate towards kind of things you put out, right?
Definitely.
And I say that with all, you know, sense of modesty. You know, a lot of people think they could do the content we do, and I see the comment sections. You know, people.
Yeah, I wanted to address
people going off, people foaming in the mouth, right? But I tell you for free, not a lot of people can do the content we do. And I'm looking into the camera to say that because, you know, if you're holding,
and it's not arrogant,
and that's not being arrogant. But the podcast has been in existence for a year and a half thereabout, from in this amazing space with Clout Africa, and every time I've gone somewhere, you know, someone has said, I think I know you from somewhere. You know, the podcast you guys do is great. Shout out to Nigeria footballers who are, you know, great people. They bring us allow speaks to me about the content all the time. You know, some of the better people in the industry, right? But we don't really care about that. When you think, and the first response you're going to give to me is you're going to say, these guys are coming after us because we publicize them. We don't need that kind of publicity, right?
Like,
we don't need that kind of publicity. Down. And I speak to the producer, and you probably get an email to take the post down, because we don't need your publicity.
Fact.
The content clearly addressed a certain issue that gave perspective, but in your short-sightedness, you've gone ahead to delete everything that can link people back to the full context. Because ultimately, what you want to do with snippets of videos, if you try to tell people, we realize that whilst you're on Instagram or you're on Twitter, you might not have the time to go to YouTube. So guess what you're going to do? We're going to post a 10 minutes or we're going to post a 1 minute video, and we're going to tell you, if you like the content, you might go to YouTube and watch it out.
Exactly.
More often than not, people want to see the rest of
the rest of it. So in many ways, I think it's cloud chasing, which is what Nigeria Sports is doing. It's cloud chasing, and I've gone to look at the website. I can't quite relate. I can't quite link back to who runs the page. So, and that's what happens when you have faceless people, you know, running stuff. So, but that's okay.
I also have to say, like, obviously, like I said, when you do something like this, you're not really worried about what everyone has to say. You don't really care. And you have a lot of people in the comment section, you know, people talking about who are these guys. I wasn't around. I wasn't on the set last week. But for a lot of people who think, yeah, they're going after Maduka Okoye, yeah. Look, the truth remains, if you don't know me, right, and I'm somewhere doing my job, how you feel about a certain level of job that I've done doesn't justify how much or how capable I am in my job. In my job, how you feel doesn't justify how capable I am. Look, wait, let me finish. Doesn't justify or doesn't speak to how much work I have put in, right? For people who are saying, yeah, they are going after Maduka Okoye, right? If I was on set last week, maybe I would have said some things differently according to what I think.
Funny part is, if you watch the content, I actually clearly state that I think that
it wasn't about that performance itself.
Okoye, and this is why
I think this is the first thing you said in the video.
Yeah. It wasn't about that performance.
It's not necessarily about the game itself,
Yeah.
right? It's not about the game. And you find featherweight analysts or want to be analysts in the comment section.
Look,
and I've seen, and to be honest, I've seen lots of the people I think I know, you know, in the comment section.
That's exactly where I'm going to.
Clearly know better, right? And what you're proving is that you don't know any better than the guy on the street.
Look, that's exactly where I'm going to. So, for example, I can't worry about just anybody, you know, dropping comments on Instagram or on Twitter, right?
But
when I see people who maybe in the same business, you get people in the same business, and I saw a comment from Elegbete TV. I know this bros. Do you understand? I know him, not personally, but I know that he's in the same business. You understand? And I've seen a lot of content from him, a lot of work from him that maybe I might not agree with. I've never gone on Instagram to attack him.
So he has a problem. So Elegbete has a problem with and I think I met him once or twice. I mean, probably had a conversation or two. Not bad at all, right? But if you say that you have a problem with people that comment after the game,
do you understand?
That is the most I mean, it's a ridiculous comment to make because first of all,
you make comment about the game?
No, first of all, you do not follow the podcast. And if you follow the podcast for at least a month, you realize that lots of the things we do actually before the game.
Yeah.
Right. So it means you have no.
Somebody calls that we make on this podcast. There's not a single sport platform in this country that makes such bold call in.
And that's not that. And when you say that, people think you're being braggadocious or something like that.
I think also we need to add, right? Because I'm saying this not because of the other people making the comments. I'm actually saying this because of other people who are in the business who felt the need to go under an irresponsible pages post of other people's content and say whatever. To Elegbete TV, bro, who have been in this business, covered Nigerian football, not European, covered Nigerian football for the best part of a decade or more. The fact that you don't know is not my business.
You can't look. 50 Cent always says, I ain't talking fast because you're listening slow.
You understand, right? That's not my problem. For people who see the podcast now, so for people who see the podcast now and see boys that are sitting down speaking English, say the only thing is all these presenters. I have covered Nigeria. You don't know the first thing about Nigerian football. I have covered Nigerian football for the better part of 10 years.
Let me say something. My issue is. Like you said, I understand fans, and it's a business of opinion. And I saw this guy Jordan, who used to be chairman at Crystal Palace, have a back and forth with a fan about
Sam Jordan. I love Sam Jordan.
Sam Jordan, great guy. And Sam Jordan said something very important. And if you fail to understand this as someone who is in the industry, this game is about opinion, and I may not necessarily have the same opinion with you. And I saw that video again, and I had to go look at it again. There was not a time where, when Elegbete say something like we should destroy Maduka, I thought,
I played this game.
I'm sorry. I just think I've not met Maduka before. I don't know him. I shouldn't beef him for nothing. But we say facts away on the table. And I asked this question: if you go to a tournament with 3 goalkeepers, the first choice goalkeeper has 5 caps. I'm not saying Maduka has 5 caps. Has 5 caps. The second choice goalkeeper has 20 caps. The third choice goalkeeper has 35 caps. and you play the first choice goalkeeper with 5 caps ahead of the other ones who are more experienced, is it not just a given that questions will be asked normally?
Yeah, sure.
And
especially if things go wrong.
Yeah.
And this is what the guys did last week. I wasn't here. They were questioning the fact that, and we're still saying it. I don't think Maduka Okoye can come out and say shoulder high, I'm a better goalkeeper than Akpeyi. Akpeyi has had his critics, but you can't say you're better than him.
And you make a brilliant,
you can't say that.
You make a brilliant point. And I'm just going to, because I'm getting comments from people who are watching. And look, it is amazing that you find your time to watch, because so shout outs to you. But just to rehash on that, if I bring someone else to this table who is not as good as you are in what you do, and you are one of the best in what you do, and if you think that if you watch the podcast and think, oh, I think that this guy is clearly not good enough, I bet you come on this table, you freeze in the first question I ask you. You freeze the first thing I ask you, you freeze the second time, and the third time we have to give you a cup of water, right? If I bring someone to replace Ineba Monday on the set, best believe he must be better in Ineba Monday, because if he is not, then I have to now go back to the decision making that made me invite that person on this table, right? If someone else comes to sit and host this podcast, right, and for whatever reason doesn't do as good a job, or about a job you think I do, as I do, then you have to question the thought process in bringing the person on set. It is the same thing. Super Sports, right? When Sami Kufa was there, right, analyzing Champions League games, people were calling the guy out, right? Knows the game. People felt for whatever reason wasn't delivering the right thing. But if you replace him with somebody else, you realize immediately how difficult it is to do that job. Because in the end, it's not about the English you speak, but it's about how can you translate pictures into words and capture people's imagination in a very short period of time. You are probably at halftime, you have 30 seconds to make a point, right? So I'm not going to stand here and teach people how to do punditry, right? Because that's not my job. But if you think you can do a better job than me, that's fine. So go back to Maduka, right?
By all means, we'll walk you on the table.
By all means, you can challenge the comment section.
We're allowed to have opinions, and I've heard ridiculous opinions in the game. I've heard people say things that I'm looking at like, what is he smoking? I've heard that, and you don't have to be condescending. You don't have to be disrespectful. I've seen some of the comments, and when it comes from fans, it's totally understandable. Fans will always be fans. They'll go off the handle. Definitely. And I can take that. What I can't take is a professional, someone who is in the space that I am, who's supposed to know better. That's hard to take.
They're actually not professionals. They're actually not professionals. A lot of them, not professionals. And I say professionals because I am trying to be nice to you. Because what I actually want to say is that some of you actually have you don't know the first thing about doing what I do, the way I do it. But I'm just going to make so a couple of people sent me messages, and apparently the guy who runs Naija Sports, I'm giving him too much credit anyways, too much PR. But you need it, right? And these are people that I have to say, if you put our followers 10 times fold, you are not probably up to them, but you don't create the kind of content we create, and you can take that to the bank. Apparently the person runs Igalo's fan page, right? And because Igalo is in the question, I'll stop there, right? So let's get into the episode for real. You can send us a comment on the Hindsight Podcast Instagram page. That would be really good, because look, we have a core people that follow us, core people that follow us, and we think that you do an amazing job with the comments you leave there. I don't think that there are many pages that have the interactions we have, and we're blessed to have you spend your time and spend your data to watch us, right? So I want to speak about the semi-final, right? I've seen the comments by Carlos Quiroz, and he said, look, Samuel Eto'o's comments going into the game tonight, right, should be investigated by CAF and ultimately should be punished. And I don't know what you make of it. But when you say Samuel Eto'o, so this is what Samuel Eto'o basically said. He said, look, the game is war. I think if you translate everything to what he said in the dressing room to the Cameroonian players, it's like, look, the game is war. And I was thinking two things. Is Carlos Quiroz trying to turn the comments on his head and by so doing reduce the possible effects of what that comment can have on the Cameroonian national team? Which for Eto'o I have to understand that he would have meant it as inspirational.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or is it really a valid point that in the times we are in, and especially in the times that Cameroon are in, he has to be more sensitive about the choice of words he makes? So when you say war,
sensitive. I understand, because of, Olakule has been very he has well documented how the sensitivity of the times in Cameroon because of the unrest in this space and all of that. But war is a word that is very common in football,
Yeah.
And sometimes it may not be in the strictest sense of the word, but things are, you're supposed to go into a fight with your opponent in the sense that, for instance, in English football, you see the way their stadiums are built. The away dressing room is not the same as the home dressing room. The away dressing room is actually smaller. The tunnel is very tight. It's
all part of the.
It's hostile.
Yeah.
They tried the fans. You see fans by the touchline. If you go to North Africa to play a game, I remember Rivers United going there, and they were reporting that the fans were commenting on their social media platform pages, "We will kill you, we will kill you," and they were reporting it to CAF. And I found it very funny at the time, because I thought Rivers United were very naive, because that's what you get in North Africa. It's that hostile nature.
That's what you get doesn't make it right.
I'll kill you doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to put a knife, I'm going to shoot you. They try to intimidate, and intimidation is a normal thing in football. But now, in this context, in this context, obviously Samuel Eto'o was part of a Cameroonian side who, every time you face them, you knew you were facing war.
Yeah.
So he was probably trying to translate what he had in his head, what they used to have with Patrick Mboma, Pierre Wome, Mark Vivian Foy, God rest his soul, great players who went into battle. There was a time Cameroon had this, was it a Puma jersey where they had sleeveless?
Sleeveless, yeah.
Every time you went into a pitch with them, you felt like you were fighting a war.
Right.
That's what Samuel Eto'o is trying to get into the head of the players.
So from my perspective, I understand what Eto'o is trying. I think it's clearly for inspirational purposes.
Yeah.
But I mean, if somebody flags that comments and says this can bring I hate to use the word, can bring the game into a bad light. I wanted to use disrepute, which is one Nigerian.
No drop.
I wanted to use that, but we bastardize that word. But I mean, you have to understand that someone outside the game who doesn't know it can read that comment and say, in the times that Cameroon are going through, you must be more sensitive.
I totally disagree. I think Carlos Queiroz was reaching. I think that it is absolute BS, and this is why. This is why. If Carlos Queiroz had stopped after saying, he should be more, he should understand, read the room and understand the situation, and just stop there. But then he said CAF should punish or something. He said something of that sort, and that's where I felt like, okay, now I understand that you are not fighting with the interest of Cameroonians at heart. You are also trying to play something in favor of your team going into the game.
It's a big gamesmanship.
Exactly, because if you have stopped at, look, understand the situation, don't go that route. Kind of maybe choose your words better. I would understand that. Yeah. But then you are calling CAF when you know fully well that this guy is just trying to rally his troops. And let's even get away from...
What if Carlos Queiroz tells you that, honestly, he doesn't see it that way? That he's just...
then I know that it is BS Pro Max. Because, because you used to be assistant manager at Manchester United. You know from the outside, and from the outside, we know how the dressing room at Manchester United used to be.
What you say we know? How do you know?
I mean, we are saying from what we understand. I mean, you've read the Alex Ferguson book.
Yeah.
You've gone through the stories told by a lot of ex-Manchester United players. You know how it can be. Players used to be scared of other players like Roy Keane. How much more the manager Alex Ferguson?
Yeah.
So, and let's even leave all the trying to rally his troops and all that. Let's go literal. The truth is, every time you step on the pitch as a football player, your life is at risk.
It's war.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Anything can happen.
So Carlos Queiroz has said, football, I'm just trying to find the comment. He said, football is about happiness, joy and what
for the person and on the stand.
He said it's very, very unfortunate because football is not about war; it's about celebration, joy, and happiness.
For the guy in the stand.
I think that
yes.
For the guy in the stand,
I think that both comments have a place.
They do. Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
What I also believe is that there can be a bit more reorientation of how we say what we say, especially understanding the times we're in, right? I think that in hindsight, maybe, right?
Maybe more so after
maybe
people
Kroos
have
has
died.
maybe Kroos has a point.
Maybe Kroos has a point. I know
because
what Kroos is trying to do.
I know what Kroos is trying to do. I'll tell you what. In Nigerian football, for example, if an ex-player makes that comment in, let's say, the north or somewhere where there's crowd violence, that comment could be interpreted by the local supporters as literal.
Absolutely.
Do you understand?
I agree.
And if something happens in the stadium,
I know what Kiros is trying to do.
Exactly.
What Kiros is trying to play mind games. I know what Kiros is doing.
He said something.
He really has a fantastic point.
He said something. It was not 2 days ago, 3 days ago. The Egyptian referee that they don't want Gassama to be the central referee, because
that's mind games.
I don't know. That was why when you go back to history, I don't think any football associated with whenever Gassama is the central referee, they've had any issue.
No, the guy is the top referee.
What's the P-Square's concept?
No.
Look, you've heard that concept. You must have heard that too many times. Hold on. Right, but what's the problem with the referee? Because I don't quite.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't want this guy.
We don't want this guy. I mean,
see, this guy learned from the best. This is what Salex used to do.
God bless you.
Before a game, Salex going into a game against Arsenal used to be the guys who used to give them trouble. Salex will start a week before the game. Before they appoint the referee, he will start. This is what referees are doing. And the thing Salex used to do, he will mention names. He will call referees. He said Graham Paul, Andy Durso. This is what they've done when they've come to Old Trafford.
So simply puts
pressure on the referees.
So simply puts,
this is what Carlos Queiroz is trying to do.
Carlos Queiroz is trying to turn, because you see, Cameroon have had a good run as regards host nation. The entire nation are behind the team. Carlos Queiroz is trying to turn the entire nation against the footballing organization of the nation. That's what he's trying to do.
That's so many nations shining.
Exactly. A lot of nations. Exactly. He's trying to turn the entire country. Okay, let me break it down. He's trying to turn the entire country.
Second breaker.
So now, nice one. He's trying to turn the entire country against the footballing, whatever of the country, because now if you turn the nation against Samuel Eto'o, it's like there's a breakage already, because the whole country is together. Right, across the continent.
It's not just the nation, even CAF is trying to talk. I mean, why would you go to
that's how you say they should punish you?
I think you're well within your rights to do that, right? If
but you can't. You
ask the question that
you can't say referee.
No reason.
You can't mention the referee's name. You can't say
exactly
this referee.
We don't want
this kind of. You don't have such right.
And they were asking why.
I think that I haven't seen the comment about the referee, but I think if I were a manager and a referee,
so you mean this guy might be lying?
Look, I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. I'm not sure where he has put his hands in. Where he has gone to. Nice. But that's that for that. But I mean, when we think about Egypt and Cameroon, we've done the highlight show this morning, and 12 titles between the two teams, right? It tells you, look, these are the most successful teams of the continent. I think Cameroon have won 5, Egypt have won 7, right? Is there a natural pull or attraction or natural consensus? That's what I'm looking for. that we want to see a mini Liverpool derby in the final, right?
It would be nice. It would be nice, but also if you turn it to the flip side, you also want to see Cameroon in the final, Cameroon Senegal, because I think that would be a spectacle too. Because you're guaranteed that the Olembe Stadium will be packed to the rafters, and that would be beautiful.
What do you make of what do you make of the stadium being reapproved to host the final?
Maybe there's some politics behind it, because in the aftermath of what happened the other night where people lost their lives, I think it's unreasonable, because in that space of time you can't tell me that investigations were concluded in the space of a few days and that stadium is approved to play football. Because if it happened anywhere in the world, I don't think that football matches are going to be played there. So I think there's some politics behind it. Obviously, Olembe Stadium has been the place where Cameroon have played all their matches, and they're enjoying it there. So you can't say that the host didn't pull some strings to get that stadium open for them to play. Because, for instance, if we take it away from there, where Cameroon, let's say, go to Yaoundé or go to any other place, or Garoua, or any of the venues, to play in a venue they haven't played before, it'll feel like an away game.
Can you understand from a logistical point of view, all the effort, of course, has been from day one geared into that stadium hosting the final, right? Hotels, everything around. I mean, the football game is just 90 minutes, but security, everything like that. The apparatus has been geared towards making sure that particular facility hosts the final. Can you understand why that is the easy choice to make?
I totally. I think I agree with Neoboy in the sense that there might have been some politics, but also because we don't know the inner workings of why this stadium might have been selected, or maybe it might even be too soon, because there's a possibility if you take it to another stadium, right? Because you don't know until it happens. If you take it to another stadium, there might be a possibility of a bigger tragedy on the horizon,
because they can say
we didn't plan for that.
So,
exactly. So because we don't exactly know the inner workings, I think it will be very premature to outrightly go in on the organizers to say, why are you playing there?
All right. So who qualifies this night? We actually wanted to record the podcast tomorrow because of the semi-final, but like I said, we don't cloud chase. So if the final happens, if the semi-final game happens, and it happens, right? We're going to record regardless, right? Shouts to you. So who wins tonight? Cameroon or Egypt? I'm leaning towards Cameroon a little.
I really fancy Cameroon. I think a lot of people have said Cameroon can be fragile at the back, but I really fancy, because the best Egyptian game that we've seen so far in the tournament was against Morocco, and I still say that the goals that Morocco scored had a lot to do with how bad. I mean, the goals that the Egyptians scored had a lot to do with how badly the Moroccans defended. So for me, I'm like, I just feel like the Camerooners will have way more. Now they're attacking with no fear whatsoever. They've got two guys that can really hurt anybody on the African continent right now, based on how much confidence they've gathered over the course of the tournament.
I want to take your comments on Vincent Abubakar's the comments he made rather on Mo Salah and not being really impressed by him. He said, and I'm just paraphrasing, I'm just going to find the comments, said he's a good player, but I'm not too to be honest, I'm not too impressed.
That's what he said. That's part of the mind game. But what would they would say on the street of Twitter is small yash they shake. Because I don't understand why Vincent Abubakar would say
Mo Salah. So yash.
I don't understand. Did I tell you I'm a pastor?
But this collar way you always
I just said that heaven race now you do.
You don't come on.
You don't come on.
The race now not check.
So don't be saying you even know the small and the big one.
Please, heaven is still the goal. Heaven is still the goal. We're still on course. So myself and the producer of the show, we're still on course.
But I think that when you make a comment, so there's traditionally a stereotype in so to speak, that whilst you're still actively playing or actively in any profession, it is almost unethical to make an honest assertion or call out somebody else in that profession. Is that something you agree with? Because I mean, if you go back to the last 30 minutes of the podcast, I probably just called a professional out, right, and said, look, I don't agree with this and that. Is that the kind of, we've seen NBA on TNT. We've seen Draymond Green become the first active footballer to join the NBA on TNT team, which is unconventional because you'd have to make difficult comments about players that you are friends with, who text you after the game and whatnot. Is that something that needs to change? That I can go ahead and say, I don't think he has done a great job there, right? And he has to understand that I'm only analyzing the comments he has made. So if after the podcast today, you know, a friend of mine who is a professional calls me and says, I don't think you had the best show today, and he has to do that for another platform which he gets paid for. I have to understand that in content making, that is allowed, no?
Aside that, I think my ex-Manchester United players, they didn't need to listen to what.
because that's what Ricky got in trouble for.
Aside that, others don't do that.
Aside that, if I go back to, you know, just starting up in the business, being able to learn, you learn from people that have been in the business before you. So if we're saying that you can't talk about other people in the ecosystem and whether or not they've done a good job on at a particular time, so that means we're saying I am okay to learn from this person privately but not publicly. So I can be angry with
hold on.
You don't understand what I just said.
I don't understand what you said.
Okay, I'll go again. So I can be angry with what a colleague has said if the person is maybe went with a malicious, you know, ideology about criticizing me.
Speak English,
right? So my thing is, like I said, that's Swahili. So like I said, starting up in a business, right? You learn from people who have been there before you, or people that you know very well that they know this thing more than you do. So if now we're saying, and I'm agreeing with what you said in the sense that is it not okay for people to call out or for people to, you know, talk about other people in the same business that maybe whether or not they've done a good job. So if I say no, you can't call me out because we're in the same business. You can't tell me I'm wrong because we're in the same business. Players cannot call other players out. That means I'm saying I am okay to learn from other players privately. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm not okay to learn from you publicly. That's what I'm saying.
We can talk about this via phone.
Exactly.
But we can't.
If I know you personally,
isn't that what someone would say you're attacking? I mean, because it wasn't an attack. Isn't that? I mean, when Liberty makes a comment, right, on the platform, and says this, and you respond to the comments, because what I've done is respond to the comments.
Exactly.
But that should be healthy.
No. It should be, like I said, I would have a problem if I think the problem is malicious. And to now come back to the elevator comments is, you can't see a post like that and say all these people who come after the game and come and say no, that's condescending.
Yes,
right.
That's condescending. You cannot. And then, like you said, you've had a couple of conversations with him.
Yeah.
Right? Yes or no? One or two. So now, when Elibete sees you on a clip and says all these people that come after the game and speak, he's speaking as if I have never seen this person in this ecosystem, and the person just thinks he's an analyst after the game. That's why I have a problem with it.
And this is what I always say.
Brother, you made a very good point. I need to.
Now you understand.
I always say, even if you know the brand.
When we want to have opinion, when we want to have opinion, if I say UB is a better analyst than Olakule, for instance, I will tell you UB's delivery is great. UB's context is great. You know, the posturing on TV or radio, you know, the way he sits, the way he goes into his energy. I'll give you facts.
Right.
I cannot come and say UB is better than Olakule. I think it's because he's taller than Olakule.
Because that one just talking nonsense.
Olakule just talks nonsense. That's why I think UB is better, and that's what we can't take.
Right.
Exactly.
If I criticize someone and say I don't think he's done well in this way, I'm going to break it down. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
So and I think that is healthy. So that's not what Elibete did.
So when Abubakar makes a comment about Mo Salah,
he says,
can Mo Salah take that personally?
No, he can't. I don't think Mo Salah will take it personally.
I'm not in a position to tell Mo Salah he can take it personally.
No, hold on a second. A few years ago, Arsenal went to play Barcelona in the Champions League game. I know, and the media were talking about Walcott. The pace Walcott had, he could go in behind the Barcelona defense. Guess what, Pep? They asked Pep about how are you going to sort out Theo Walcott, and he says, Theo Walcott, who's that? Now, do I think Pep was condescending? Of course he was.
Of course.
Because he's trying to play into the mind of Walcott to say, I don't know
you. Can see Walcott in the dressing room and say, bro,
you know,
fantastic player.
He's condescending.
Yeah.
This is what this guy is trying to do. I don't think he thinks,
of course,
obviously, that Salah is not good. Salah is a great player.
Of course,
he knows that.
Of course.
But whatever they're going to do to win this match,
you have to.
We're going to do it.
Exactly.
If you ask him between you and the boy knows say Salah Sabi ball.
Sure, now that's why I say small hands and shit.
I thought it was a ridiculous comment. Stop him. Speaking of which, Osarema is a big fan of yourself. She don't before you celebrate. Osarema
this life no bad. Very idiot.
No, so look, so I think we want to drink champs, right? I think we need to put a counter on the announcement we mentioned. We need to
do that.
We need to put a counter on them check on the podcast. So there was a snippet where she was clearly pissed that you were interjecting in it all the time, right? So it's fair to say that Osharema is a big fan of yourself, right? You have to win another lady over or something like that. Just saying. But now we know that you don't come out for heavenly race.
No. It's not, you can still celebrate a bit because Osarema is a terrorist.
Absolute terrorist, right? There is that. But I mean, the final, when you go through the tournament for 3 weeks, right, and a lot has happened in 3 weeks. You know, refereeing calls, this, that. You know, Maduka Okoye, whatnot. I mean, in the end, when you reflect on the entire 3 weeks, I think that you have to say this person has done a good job. If Cameroon win the tournament, have they been the best team so far? Or if Senegal win it, is that a new definition of how to approach a football tournament? And I spoke to you this morning about it on the show, right? I think Senegal are teaching us a lesson in staying in the game or staying in the fight, no matter how badly you are getting beaten, right? As long as you're in the fight, you have a chance to land a killer punch.
Definitely.
That's what Senegal have done. That's the strategy they've taken. Cameroon, on the other hand, have said, look, from get-go, full throttle, we show everybody we're better than them. If they sling a shot at us, we fire back. But we've seen different strategies to win this thing, isn't it? You know, Egypt as well. It's similar things to what Senegal have done, but a bit more expressive because that's how they fundamentally play. Defend and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's in fairness to Cameroon. I think Cameroon have played Comoros with due respect to Comoros has played a few countries that you expected them to beat, you know, but I think the real story is Senegal because they started the competition very slow, you know, they needed a last minute penalty to beat Zimbabwe, you know, were very spineless against Guinea, you know. I saw them against their last group game and it was neither here nor there. But from the round of 16 you could see that they were getting into gear. You know, they could get into gear and really show that we can play football. We can keep our heads because the pressure is not the same in the group stage and in the round of 16.
What do people expect from African football? When you speak to people say the tournaments is not exciting. What do people expect?
People are expecting 3-2s, you know.
No, I don't even think that's what it.
I don't think that's what
because you made a good point this morning on the TV and said, look, if you turn on the TV in the Nations Cup and see Comoros are getting beat 6-0, I bet you feel worse about the tournament than you already feel at the moment.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to turn the TV on and see are getting beat 4-0.
What is wrong with African football is not exactly, you know, the games that are being played. What is wrong for me? Two things: administrative, PR problem.
Yeah, PR. Yeah, I think you make a fantastic point because, you know, we watch the game and sometimes we confuse the game for the side attraction, the glamour in the way it's being delivered to us. Yeah, right. And which is why Luckily makes a brilliant point. Every time I see somebody talk about African football, you know, turn the TV on and watching, and I've had the luxury of watching the games with different sets of people, right? And every time I get somebody say, more often than not, somebody says, this thing not really sweet. You get, and immediately I understand what you're saying. The way it's being delivered, you know. So
the optics,
the optics of it, the broadcasting of it also. I have to say, doesn't quite hit you the same feeling. The crowd noise is not quite what it should be.
Even the stadiums are not built to excite the person watching on TV.
The crowd is not as close to the ground as possible. Right.
So because we keep playing it. That's exactly
with the track playing.
You build multi-purpose stadiums.
You get the feeling that even the fans in the ground are still somewhat distant from the action.
Right. How much more you seeing it on TV?
You see, so I think
that's fantastic.
The broadcast part and how it's been delivered.
Young man,
because in Europe, whatever competition, whether it's a Premier League, the Champions League, the fans are close when they make noise. They're very closely knitted in terms that they make it a real carnival atmosphere. But in Africa, you know, if you just look like they do one community something, you know, people look.
So it's like when you go to a party. Another one coming. So it's like when you go to a party.
The analogy king.
Right? If you see just maybe 2 people, very good dancers, just 2 people dancing, right? It cannot be as exciting as if you see 15 people on the dance floor. They are not so good, but you have more people on the dance floor. Only 2 people dancing, very good. Cannot be as exciting as when you have a lot more people there that are trying to do, you know, the thing. Because a lot of people would forget the fact that, look, Fernando Torres won the highest goal scorer of the Euros by scoring just 3 goals. Vincent Abubakar has 6. And they're still saying the AFCON is boring.
It's boring. Also, I think that when you have leagues that you don't watch, right, you don't have the excitement of what this player brings. What does he bring to his national team? So, for example, all the excitement you have from the AFCON is generated from outside Africa. Right? You think about Salah, you think about
money.
So if you watch a guy like who was what's the guy that was in Aqua United who was moved to Olisanda. So when the guy sees Olisanda in the team, doesn't know what he brings to the table.
Doesn't know the guy.
Doesn't know what he brings to the table. But if you juxtapose Olisanda immediately with a guy as not as small, but a guy like Henry Yekuru, who's not playing for the biggest superstars, but you've seen him play for QPR at some point in time. You immediately think, oh,
exactly.
This guy's good to light up everything. So I think that, you know, maybe that clears up the perception of African football is not interesting. It's not necessarily the football itself. Because of course we have seen drab games in Europe. Oh my god,
Champions League drab games in Europe.
Semi-final. The Champions League final Liverpool won was
the one of the most
disastrous game I've seen.
Oh my god!
But the way they hit you with the PR, the analysis, halftime.
So I guess what could be more exciting? What could be more exciting than Equatorial Guinea beating Algeria?
What could be more exciting?
Which is equivalent of Iceland beating England?
What could be more exciting than Comoros with 10 men with a goalkeeper in the goal? Last 10 minutes,
never been
last 10 minutes into a quarter-final game, into a surround of 16 game, banging at the door of Comoros. What is more exciting than that?
Comoros beating Ghana, Madagascar beating Nigeria.
Goodness gracious! What is more exciting than that?
Yeah, so it's about controlling.
Yeah, it is. And also, just to quickly add, it's like we said, the PR issue. When you've seen someone so much and the person is a celebrity to you, you know the person. Like, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo. If Cristiano Ronaldo has a bad game, because you've seen Cristiano Ronaldo content so much over the years, there's something inside you automatically you defend him even when he has a bad game.
Like we're defending Salah at the start of the tournament. He says, don't worry, Salah, he will be fine.
Exactly, because the PR has been done properly. He plays in Europe. All these things that happen. Like you said, nobody really knows Olisanda before the tournament. Nobody really knows, all of these
Gabanino Mahango,
exactly, the guy that scored that
goal on the tournament.
The guy that scored that goal
strike against Morocco.
The guy that scored that goal that got cancelled against Egypt.
Yes.
Guinea-Bissau guy. Did you see that goal?
Brilliant.
Really good.
that referee probably would have been having nightmares that night.
How many football fans knows this Burkina Faso defender, Tapsoba? I mean,
Edmond Tapsoba.
Plays for Bayer Leverkusen.
I think that guy has been one of the players of the tournament.
Yeah,
you know, and the lad who was playing against Mane at right back, I hear he's a Man City kid.
Kaburi,
right?
Number 9, fullback.
I like him. You know, so there's been a lot of excitement. I totally agree. The narrative, you know, the coverage, it's not as good as it should be because I watch the African game and I like it, because if I watch a European game, let's say a team like Iceland goes into the quarterfinals of a European Championship and they're playing against France. I'm expecting that France will win. Nothing in my head will say France will not win.
Definitely.
But in Africa, it's not the same thing. You can't. Yesterday, where you said Burkina Faso could knock Senegal out, I said Burkina Faso will knock Senegal out.
Yeah.
Even with the galaxy of stars that Senegal have got in their disposal, you can't really say that it's going to be a straightforward win. You know, even in the end, it was a 3-1 win. It flattered Senegal a little bit.
It did. It did.
That is the beauty of the African game.
That's a clear smash and grab job.
Yeah.
Right. See, clear Italian job. You get,
look, money heist,
real.
And I think what the Senegalese national team, that's what they've been doing.
I think that you can learn a thing or two from them in game management. You know, I think that if they win it, we'll be very split on as far as opinions go on the coach, Alice say.
But he's done a good job.
In the context, in this tournament, I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they've not really done anything with this crop of players.
So,
when
you said they've not done anything with this crop of players, I don't know. They've not won the AFCON.
They've not won the AFCON.
But they were in the final last year. So last time
they didn't win it,
and they're in the final again.
Right
now, you don't get to 2 finals on the bounce if your team is not very good.
We have as a coach, you've not done well.
As a coach, you've not done well.
I would have loved to respond to you, but
please don't respond.
we actually do have limited time, right? So we have to leave it in our 20 minutes or less, right? So comment on YouTube from Hybrid 10. Hybrid says, please shed some light on the Guavon Pesero issue. And I was speaking to a couple of people, and I was asked on TV what's the better option to go with. You know, is it allowed to allow Guavon continue for the World Cup qualifier game against Ghana? And someone else said, why are we talking about Guavon? Because especially when it was clear in his job description that he would just do the Nations Cup and get on with it. So I was going to take your thoughts quickly, because there's clearly a split decision.
Yeah, obviously.
In many ways, obviously, because it's not clear.
And it's not just from fans. Yeah, because I'm hearing that in the glass house, you know, that there's a talk of can we let it go?
How you know is the amount of ex-players I've seen come out to support Guavon.
Yeah,
you get
tells me
something is clearly.
For me, I think because we have a reputation of not doing things the right way, I naturally would have said let Guavon continue. But there's a reputation of, you know, us not doing things the right way, and because this particular one feels like it favors the majority,
right,
doesn't mean I'm going to support it. The NFF came out and said we already hired Jose Pesero. You have to give him the job. Simple. If truly you've signed the papers, right? You have to give him.
Because you'll be setting a dangerous precedent for the future. No top manager will want to work with you again.
That's one.
If you do this,
that's one. Two is, and I've not seen anybody actually bring this up. Guerrero was fired because we felt like he wasn't the guy to take us that extra step. Doesn't have the in-game management. Doesn't have the quality to eventually give us what we want, win the tournament. But also, Guavon probably showed the same thing against Tunisia.
Maybe worse.
Guavon took that team for 3 weeks only.
I agree. But guess what? If you are playing against Ghana, you'd have had the team for what? Maybe a few more weeks.
My biggest criticism for Guavon in the whole Nations Cup is that Nigeria qualified from the second game of the group stage, right? And you had at least a week to try and figure out how to qualify into the quarterfinals, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, relax. In the end, you met Tunisia. So in the end, you met Tunisia. Look, I am not going to.
No, but it's true now.
Because like I mentioned on one hand, how many teams I was more impressed than by Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Terrible
Exactly.
team.
Look,
really terrible.
people again.
Really terrible.
Okay, I think now we have an opportunity to set things straight, because now people will come and say, "Yeah, attacking the Gabon." Say people hindsight. Look, the name of the podcast is called hindsight, right? Doesn't mean that we don't say things before they happen. So please be guided. But you see, with the Guavo thing, right? I was one of the people that said, General, I did a fantastic job. If you consider where the Super Eagles were, yeah, exactly. But it just felt like General didn't have it to take us, that. I mean, now you brought in a Guavon. The fact that he had the team for only 3 weeks doesn't justify for me.
But it does. It does.
It counts for something, but it does not justify why a top manager who, when they brought him in, the sell was he has been with the team since, right? So now, when they brought him in, the sell was he has been there since. It doesn't justify not knowing that as a football team you need to have another plan.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to the qualifiers.
Good point.
Who would you rather have take the qualifiers?
I would rather have a Guavon.
Yeah, me too.
I'd rather have a Guavon.
Me too. I would rather have a Guavon.
Can you imagine the outrage if we lose?
No.
With the Guavon? No, it doesn't matter.
There are no guarantees that you can't lose with Pissarro.
No.
There are no guarantees.
So we're going to do it in 2 ways, right? All of you think Guavon should be the guy who takes the team to that Ghana game?
Because I wasn't on the Pissarro bus from day one.
Yeah,
never was.
right.
You say he has bad experience.
You want Donald Trump that said that to you like,
but how don't you?
They have bad experience.
Right. She has a lot of experience.
A lot of those people on that page,
bad experience.
Yeah, a lot of people on that page have bad experience. You say you have done this job for 15 years. You have bad experience. Facts. You have bad experience. You are traumatized.
I think Guavon should take the team to that to the two-legged affair. I think he's started something. The feel from the camp was, he allowed them to express himself. We've not seen Moses Simon play this good for Nigeria ever.
Albeit it was Sudan and Guinea-Bissau.
No, but
he did well.
If not, even with Cape Verde, even with that which team beat us that time,
Central African Republic,
CAR, they came to Lagos. We've not seen. We saw Moses at the tournament.
You see what you talk. You don't say this is what you do now. Excitement.
No. But that's what I'm saying is
this Moses. What's happened to him against Tunisia?
I didn't buy. I don't have a problem with Moses Simon.
No, of course.
I won't have him in my team. I like him. He's skillful.
I have him in my team.
I won't have him in my team.
His final ball. He's very, very poor.
You see why I can never like Walcott?
Very poor.
You see why I can never like Walcott?
Very, very poor.
You run. You get to the byline.
You forget the ball.
And you whip the ball across over the back. No. That's Moses Simon in a nutshell.
That's unfair, Moses Simon.
No. That's Moses Simon in a nutshell. He's a brilliant guy. Sometimes he will come up. Sometimes he won't come up. His level of consistency.
Who would you rather have?
His level of consistency is his problem. The talent is not in doubt.
In the Super Eagles now, who would you rather have?
No, but in the Super Eagles, he's clearly head and shoulder above everybody. But if, for instance, we have an Emmanuel Dennis available, and he wants to play in his position, do you think you play Moses Simon ahead of Emmanuel Dennis?
Emmanuel Dennis is not there now.
No, we need Emmanuel Dennis for the qualifiers.
No, we won't.
We will. We will. See this one. Who you get?
So everybody thinks Guavon should coach team. So just for that, the Highbury 10 who asked the question, at the moment, if it was clear that Joseph Perso will be the coach, you won't be asking the question.
But it should be clear by now. It should be clear by now, because I'm expecting the next window is in November. The next the qualifier happens next month.
Yeah,
we have 1 month.
Yeah.
And I think that at this point,
the players should already be getting analytics from their head coach's team on what to look for. And I think you want to say something.
But according to a report just before we started the podcast, that the sports minister, Honorable Sunday Dare, has mandated that Austin Aguilar should take over permanently.
I'm sorry. I don't like to use this word. I don't like to use this word, but it's absolute rubbish. The sports minister does not have the jurisdiction. He does not have the jurisdiction, and with due respect to the honourable minister, he does not have the jurisdiction.
With all due respect, I have no respect.
To mandate anyone in the glass house to do anything what he wants to do. His job is to oversee. What he's done is try to make a decision for the Nigerian Football Federation.
When you use the word
respect to your honorable minister, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, sir.
When you use the word jurisdiction,
sorry, with all due respect, I have no respect.
Who sang that song? Sorry, no sorry, Jay-Z and J. Khaled. When you use the word jurisdiction, that's the only. I totally agree with what you're saying. But when you use jurisdiction, then he can say, "I have the jurisdiction."
No, jurisdiction is hire a manager. You need to hire a manager now. We don't have a manager now. Hire a manager. That's jurisdiction.
No,
when he
I'll use the word competence.
When it comes to finding the managers,
details, you don't have the jurisdiction.
I think the word should be competent. I don't think he has the competence to know what to look for in.
This competence is now very. Exactly. But I get what Inyobo is saying is in the sense that you're the sport minister, right? And FIFA would always say they don't even want third party interference
because that's interference.
Well, the same thing is happening with the MBBF.
Please don't. I don't want to.
Wait first. You need don't come on this sport button. This button where you put for neck. No, don't come on that. Be very careful. So in the sense that it's like it's interference. As a sport minister, you're part of the government of the nation, and FIFA says the government cannot interfere with the football federation.
Right? Yeah. So that's jurisdiction. You're
jurisdiction.
Right with that. We have run out of time. Yeah, you did. I'm sorry, the honorable minister. Right?
I'm very sorry, sir.
Are you sure or not? Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But I think we're done with the podcast today. We would have loved to go into a bit of transfer windows talk, but I mean we have a lot of time to talk about that, right? Next week we're back as well again. But all the best to Cameroon and Egypt in the final or the semi-final tonight, and of course Senegal standing by waiting for who would be the bride for the final at the Olympic Stadium. That would be great. I think it's been a great tournament so far, and the guys have been absolutely brilliant as well. Look, in the end, if we call somebody out on the podcast, ultimately, at the heart of it, nothing personal. But if you step out of the line, I think it's only right that the sheriffs in town. I think it's only right the sheriffs in town. Put you in order.
You posted our content. Come on,
and that's it. Look,
what were you expecting?
Yeah. Don't come to the mainland. And you can be on the island for a bit, but that's it, guys, gentlemen. Monday, good to have you here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Radio, look, I appreciate the fact that you came in short notice. It was really good, so thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Please,
right, and all the best at Rave. Yeah.
That's heavenly race. If there be no substitute you,
no, please
wear your jersey back.
Put yourself back.
Please come back in. Myself, Wale. We are still on course.
Why don't they mention you?
I'm not sure. I'm not. Maybe you be small, but luckily he washed his hand a long time ago.
so which race?
A long time ago.
So all is wrong. Where are they wrong? Where are they?
Valhalla. That's what luckily good Valhalla. The sort of Odin. But that's it. We're done. Shout out to everybody. So the thing is that we tried the live stream today. If you like it, tell us if you like it. If you don't like it, we'll revert to the recording. See you soon. Bye bye. Oh man.